Welcome, everybody, to a 100-year lifestyle Chiro to Chiro interview with a friend, a kindred spirit. Like every time we talk, I find out, wow, we are like more aligned in the way we think, in our history and all of that. Dr. Ray Foxworth from the great state of Mississippi, thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity.
So Ray is the founder of ChiroHealthUSA. We use it in our practice. We are a member of ChiroHealthUSA. We could barely afford it, Ray. It doesn't cost us anything.
Yeah, I know.
That was a bad joke.
Exactly. Bada bing.
It doesn't cost us anything. It's our patients pay $49 a year to become a member for their whole family, and it allows us to give them a discounted rate, basically. Am I saying that correctly, Ray?
Yes, it is the same principle as when you have a contract with Blue Cross, Aetna, and Cigna. The reason they can all pay us a different rate is because we have a contractual network agreement. And so that's what ChiroHealth USA does is we work in conjunction with a discount medical plan, which is regulated by the states, just like Blue Cross, Aetna, and Cigna. And it is because of that network model, that's what allows you to have a different fee schedule for your patients, for the ones who have limited benefits, non-covered services like Medicare, high deductibles. There are ways to opt out of those high deductible, even if you're in the network. So the patient could pay less if they've got one of these, 10,000 deductible policies. So yeah, you're spot on with it, and it is probably the most legal and safest way to get paid well when there is insurance available. We certainly all want to do that, but you're also able to keep care affordable for those patients who do have non-covered services.
Well, that's a great opportunity for doctors. It certainly, we see it as a great opportunity for us to be a part of it. I would say we are 80 to 90% cash in our practice, and the 80% are ChiroHealth USA customers. We're excited about that. And the other people that we serve, the personal injury, we don't file any insurance, but we do give receipts for some people to file their own insurance. The 100-year lifestyle educational model helps us attract people, literally all ages, shapes, and sizes, families, athletes of all ages, and to enable people to continue care with ChiroHealth USA or be a part of ChiroHealth USA. It just makes it economical for us and affordable for them both at the same time to be able to deliver that kind of service. And your background, I think that's a really important part of the story here for ChiroHealth USA, because you are a chiropractor and we're same year of graduation, I believe, both 40 years in practice. Why are you still at this stage of the game so passionate about chiropractic care and helping chiropractors grow? Because we are looking to help you chiropractors to lead.
Yeah. Let me back up for just a second because I think it's important, especially when you're talking about treating families. I've heard doctors over the years struggle with, well, geez, I want to get more families in. Well, if you're charging 50, 60, 70 bucks a visit, whatever your numbers are, you got a family of three, and that can get expensive pretty quick. And so one of the options or one of the opportunities that you have is you can literally have a fee schedule that charges, and I'm just going to throw out round numbers, $150 for the first member for their first visit, $75 for the second, $50 for the third. So you can structure that to what fits your practice better and really be able to attract more patients. I've had doctors tell me, Ray, I've tried for years to get families in, but it was hard to do because of the cost. And he says, I'm seeing more families now than I ever have because we found a way to make it affordable. And let's face it, you start your kids off seeing a chiropractor, their lifestyle is better. You're setting them up for the 100-year lifestyle. Chiropractic kids become chiropractic patients later in their life as well.
Yes, indeed. And that's always been important to us. I mean, we raised our family that way. I mean, we raised our kids, my wife and I, without shots, no drugs, no pediatricians. Chiropractic care was our primary care. And we talk a lot in the 100-year lifestyle to the public and for the doctors that are affiliated with the 100-year lifestyle about being that holistic primary care, making sure, because it is indisputable that a healthy spine and nervous system is essential for a healthy long life and raising kids. I mean, you've seen it, how many damaged kids there are today. It's unbelievable. It's scary. Just a quick story. Just the other day, I had a woman that was laying on the table, and she saw there was an autistic kid that came in our office who was a pretty highly functioning autistic kid, but he was vaccine injured, and you could tell he was off. And she has been one of these people that is like, "Oh, that's not a real thing. Like that doesn't really happen." I'm like,
Mm.
"Are you kidding me? Here's an example." And it was a wake up call for her, and he's doing great. But not to deviate from that, it is important to get to these kids at a very young age because healthy kids become healthy adults, sick kids become sick adults.
Yeah. Going back to your original question, why do I still do this after all these years and still involved? As I've told people, I may have retired from practice, but I haven't retired from the profession. And I think we all Simon Sinek is famous for saying, what is your why? And for a long time, I didn't know why. It was just a business decision to do this. But when I look back at um, when I came into practice in 85, I had a list of goals, and I still have that sheet of paper. And one of my goals was to see chiropractic viewed as more acceptable by the medical community. I wanted to be on the staff of a hospital. I wanted to work with MDs. And I got beat up by some of my own colleagues and to say, oh, Ray sold out. He's working with the medical community. Look, guys, depending on whose numbers you believe, we see between 15 and 20% of the population. Where are the other 80% going? And are they getting good outcomes there? No. So my thought was, I want to educate the medical community about who we are, what we do, how we can help. And I will tell you, I have lived the chiropractic dream. I went from solo practice to having 3 practices, and then I started the VA medical room for chiropractic. And then through those relationships, I got invited by 13 MDs to become a partner in a spine center where we had literally everything from chiropractic to neurosurgery, PT, OT, physical medicine and rehab, pain, everything. And it's a wonderful way to practice. It is not for everybody, but that was the path that I chose. Why do I stay engaged with the profession? I think that goes back to when I was a kid. Um, my mom was a vet tech, worked during the day and went to chiropractic college at night to Beeb Out Chiropractic. Nobody remembers that name anymore, but that was in Indianapolis. And every night she was there, guess who else was there? Me. Uh, she didn't have a babysitter, and so my evenings were spent studying or listening to Dr. Bebout and the other students there. And I want to fast forward. She graduates, opens up her practice, and probably 3, 6 months into it, um, she had her office in the front of the house. We lived in the back of the house, me and my sister and my mom. So we're all sleeping in the same room, just because we had to reconfigure the house for the practice. And I heard my mom crying, and I looked over and she's kind of peeling the wallpaper off the wall. And my sister Nancy says, Mom, what's wrong? She says, honey, we're down to our last 39 cents or 37 cents, and I don't know where the next new patient's coming from. And I didn't realize it at the time how that impacted me, but I think that's what drove me to try to raise the respectability and the acceptance of chiropractic care, because no one who goes into this profession should ever have to experience that. And so I think that when I look back at what's my real why, I think it was that childhood memory and seeing your idol. That was my mom, single mom, picks up, moves to Indianapolis, goes to chiropractic college, opens her own practice, and um, seeing that, but yet seeing her in such despair because of just the way, I mean, think about it. This is 1967 in Mississippi. You couldn't even get a license to practice. So that was back in those days.
Wow.
Uh, but things like that in our lives absolutely do motivate us, and I am still just as passionate about seeing an increase in the utilization of chiropractic because I know we'll have a better world, better people, better health. And so, um, interesting how that experience and a experience that I had in my clinic is what really led to ChiroHealth USA. And I don't know if you know this backstory on ChiroHealth.
I would love to hear it.
So I'm in practice. I'm taking care of all kinds of patients, PI, workers' comp, cash. And back at that time, I'm charging probably $35 a visit, something like that. And I have this family, and I lovingly call her Miss Jones. And I had what I refer to as my worst day in practice. So I'm taking care of Miss Jones, her family. Um, they're being charged $35 or $40 an office visit. Um, and then Miss Jones gets involved in an auto accident about 3 months later. So guess what happens? I bill my actual fees to State Farm or whoever it was. She knows I've been charging her $35. She now sees I'm charging maybe $75 or $90. And this sweet little lady, I've taken care of her and her husband and kids for years. She comes back in about 3 weeks with her explanation of benefits rolled up. And this sweet little lady, I always have a staff member that goes into the room with me. And this little lady gets up, walks over to me, pokes me in the chest and says, "Doc, I saw what you charged the insurance companies, and I know what you charge me, and it's guys like you ripping them off that keep me from affording health care." Man, that was a kick in the gut. And I was speechless for about 10 seconds, which you'll find is a long time for me. I said, "No, it's guys like me that bend over backwards to help you." I said, "But I made a horrible, horrible mistake. I never let you know what my actual fees were and that I was trying to help you." She said, "Well, I don't care. I've reported you to the state attorney general." Holy crap. Good news is our state didn't have a law at that time about charging more to insurance than you do to private pay. There are a lot of states that have that in statute. You can't do that. But the takeaway for me was, even if it was legal, there's nothing that looks right about that to a patient. Um, and we didn't build the system, the healthcare system, and it's broken as hell. On the one hand, they tell us you can't discuss your fees with a colleague, but there's this transparency law now that you're supposed to have your fees up on the internet. I mean, there's so much conflict in the rules and the regulations. So long story bearable, that happens to me, and it made me start thinking, why is it that Blue Cross, Aetna, and Cigna can't all pay us a different fee, and it's perfectly legal, but yet I can't have a different fee for my cash and my underinsured, my Medicare patients with non-covered services? And I happened to be on the state board of health at that time, knew some healthcare attorneys, and I said, "How are they doing that?" It's the contractual network discount. So I started looking at discount medical plans out there. Sam's has one. Costco has one. They're called DMPOs, Discount Medical Plan Organizations. Well, I didn't like the terms of their agreements and the level of discounts they would require you to offer. So I'm a problem solver by nature. I hired the attorneys. We spun up the company. We're in about 13 states for a few years and then expanded nationwide, with the exception of Washington, which we hope to be back in soon. But once you understand the importance of that contractual network discount, if you're using that as your way to keep care affordable, you can actually, like I said, get paid well when insurance is available because you're charging your actual fee, and then just look at that patient like they are not a Blue Cross, a Aetna, or a Cigna, but they're in the third, in a fourth bucket, which is a discount medical plan regulated by the Department of Insurance, just like Blue Cross, Aetna, and Cigna. And that's why it's such a rock solid model.
Yeah, and we love it because it's clean. It's really clean and it's really easy to talk about. We have our regular prices, our regular fees listed on the same form as our CHUSA fees for CHUSA members side by side. We give people the option to, if you have insurance and you want to go through insurance or whatever, these are the fees, these are our regular fees. If you want to join CHUSA as a CHUSA member, it entitles you to legally give you a discounted rate. And they choose. And most people choose to go with CHUSA.
Well,
It-
with the deductibles and copays being so high these days, let's face it, it's actually more cost effective to private pay. That's why you see so many people doing it these days.
Yeah, it's really true. And what's also cool for us is because we are all about lifetime patients. The 100-year lifestyle is the ultimate lifetime patient creating educational model that chiropractors are using everywhere. And why is it so effective? Because it is the chiropractic lifestyle targeted to the people. And when they get plugged into CHUSA year after year for the grand total of $49 a year, maybe it'll go up one day. I don't know if it will or not. But right now, that's what our people are paying, $49 a year for the whole family. It gives them that opportunity to get that discounted rate. And that discounted rate is higher than our regular rate used to be.
Yeah.
Because now it's interesting because and our regular rate is much higher. There's no devaluing of the care. And I think what I love about what you're doing and what you've done with this is that there's no need for any chiropractor to devalue care and just have cheapy fees.
It's
And
a
there's
race to the bottom.
yeah, it's and I think that's one of the biggest challenges in our profession right now is that because of some of those models that are out there, chiropractic has become a commodity. And so, it's not the cheapest just because it's cheap, you should go get your back cracked and do a YouTube maneuver on your own neck. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And it's interesting because people when they're with CHUSA and 100-year lifestyle, and we do a lot together, we've been doing more and more together, you see that we can command a higher fee, higher value, while also being fair and never competing at the bottom of the barrel, ever.
And never having to look over your shoulder to wonder if you get an audit or an investigation that you are considered guilty of a dual fee schedule, that you're creating an inducement by charging less than fair market value, and you completely avoid any kickback. So it is such a win-win for the doctor and the patient. I mean, you know, when we look at patients calling into our offices, what's one of the most common questions that they have of the front desk staff? How much is the first visit? And as I tell from the stage, we have taught our CAs, our office team, to do what I call the chiropractic two-step. They dance all around it because they know that they have a fee for workers' comp, a fee for PI, a fee for cash, a fee for, mother, father, sister, brother fee, buy 10 visits, get one free. So that they've got all this stuff out there, and that's why they can't clearly answer the question for that patient.
Which, by the way, not to interrupt you, but that doesn't keep necessarily the people that have insurance away, but it keeps the cash people away.
It absolutely does, or the people that have a high deductible. So instead of saying that and creating uncertainty, I mean, Eric, can you imagine going to a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and you ask the waitress, how much is a 10-ounce filet? And she says, well, it depends on how hungry you are. What the hell's that got to do with with anything, And that's what the kind of things that patients are hearing when they call their offices because they can't give them a concise answer. So try this on for size. Ring, ring. Yes, I'd like to make an appointment. I need to ask how much is the first visit. Instead of doing the chiropractic two-step and dancing all around it and trying to figure out whether they have insurance or they don't, or worse, you say, well, it's normally $350, but if you're cash, it's $125. And we have clinics that have done that. Man, it'd be so easy for me to go and audit chiropractors that are doing stuff wrong. Just call their office. They literally set you up by not having a clear, concise answer. So try this response. Ms. Jones, it does depend on what the doctor finds necessary in your case, but it also could depend on what your insurance company requires. And you shut up, and guess what the patient says? Well, I don't have health insurance. Not a problem. That's why we're part of CHUSA. That's a network you can join for 49 bucks. And no matter what the doc does today, the most your visit is 125. Do you prefer mornings or afternoons? No
Simple.
step, no obfuscating what your fees are. You're telling the patient what they need to know, because if you don't tell them what they need to know, they may schedule an appointment, but look at your no-show rate. It's uncertainty is the one thing that kills any relationship. destroys or eliminates the possibility of them coming into you if things are not clear and concise. Ironically, it's people think that one of the number one complaints to the state boards are over your clinical care. It's not. It's over your financial policy, and it's not clear. Or you're doing prepays, and somebody drops out of care early, and you try to go back and charge them your regular rates. I've sat through those hearings and investigations, and they're never pretty. So tell people the truth. You can do that if you're using the discount medical plan, and you don't care anymore if it is an auditor calling, because you're using that contractual network discount as the basis for offering discounts.
Yeah, beautiful. And I would go back and listen to that over and over again and have your staff listen to that over and over again, because that simple statement is a game changer for your CA, and you have to role play it. You have to
You
role
do.
play it. So they practice it out loud, be the other person on the phone and make sure that they have it down, because it is a game changer if they can do that.
Yeah, and we have that type of scripting, whether it's a Medicare patient, in network, out of network, high deductible. I mean, that is just part of the onboarding process and what we call our conversation guide. So, and they're all editable. If you don't like scripts, fine, tweak it, make it your own. But the key is to be able to offer clear and concise information that helps people make the decision to come in your clinic, not throw up a barrier of uncertainty.
And I would just add one thing to that, is not just for crisis care, for lifestyle care, as we call it in our world of the 100-year lifestyle. And I want to circle back to that because I think it's really important. You said when we were on the phone before we got into the actual mechanics of CHUSA and what you can do with CHUSA. And you said, you talked about your multi-doctor clinic, your integrative type of clinic and working with different people. And, we believe that that's a good model if that's what you want to do, no question about it. And why? And the answer for us is because everything works better with chiropractic.
I
And
love that statement.
yeah. And I was interviewed by Natural Awakenings magazine recently, and that became the theme. It got published all over the country in Natural Awakenings. And then it was so effective that we wrote about it. It got reproduced in Masters of Health magazine. And then we put an article together called Everything Works Better with Chiropractic, that if you want, you can contact us and get it, or CHUSA and get it, because we're going to make it available to CHUSA people so they can get it. Why are we doing that? Because we want the planet under lifetime chiropractic care. You had talked about being raised chiropractically and that it was important to you to have everybody, no matter what else they were receiving, that they also had access to chiropractic care and had the opportunity for chiropractic care. Why for you do you think that's such an important thing for our profession right now, to be not just getting care when they need it, but literally utilizing chiropractic care as a part of a lifestyle? We call it the 100-year lifestyle way, but as a part of a lifestyle.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you look just in general, you look at chiropractic kids, you look at my kids. I never had a pediatrician going up. One of my first visits to the medical world was when I almost cut off the fingertip, slammed it in a car door. And that was really the first time I can remember that I went to an MD. My kids have been healthy. Most chiropractors' kids are healthy. And I think it is a result of everything's better with chiropractic. They have a better childhood. They have a better adolescence. They have ultimately a better adulthood. Um, when things are functioning like they're supposed to and most efficiently, um, that really that's the homeostasis that we always talk about. That's what keeps us running it. But you get, my God, the things these kids are subjected to these days in the sports that they play, and playing way too much to where, I mean, it's hurting a lot of kids. Well, you can lessen the impact of that if you make sure that they've got good biomechanics, that they've got proper strength, proper flexibility. And, I think your statement really sums it up, Eric. Everything at every stage of life can be better with chiropractic.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because we have people that have been to functional medicine doctors, and they get all this testing. They're spending thousands of dollars on testing, and they get their thyroid tested, and they get a certain result. And so they start taking whatever supplements or drugs or nutraceuticals, whatever it is to affect their thyroid. And they start getting adjusted. They change. Let's say they start getting their neck adjusted. They start changing the way they feel becomes different. Their chemistry starts to feel different, and they haven't changed their medication. And a lot of times they'll ask me, they'll say, Dr. Plasker, I've been doing this for like 3 years, going to have this medication. And, I just feel like I need to go back and have it looked at again because I feel like it's off. I said, well, the area where you're subluxated, where you have pressure on the nerve is affecting your thyroid gland, and you should go be retested because maybe they need to adjust the amount that you're taking. And we have had people go back and say, you know what, I don't need this anymore.
Yep.
And you say, okay, well, what should people do first? We have people being tested for all kinds of things with compromised neurology. And, we have taken pride, I think, in a lot of ways, Ray. We've taken pride as like, oh, yeah, go everywhere else and then come here. We'll fix you. We can fix all. But no, no, no. This is it's 2025.
Yeah.
We need to get there first, which has been our mission for a long time, which is why I think to have a structure, a fee structure like CHUSA provides for people, is you can go out there and put yourself out on a limb to be able to attract everybody, regardless of how they feel, and create tremendous value with fees that are affordable to people if you need them to be, while also being profitable for you.
And that is the magic word. Our focus over this last year has been to educate doctors about a profitable discount strategy. And it really is a strategy. And I will tell you that what we found early on, because doctors can set their own fees with ChiroHealth, so you could be at 45 a capped visit or 75, whatever your area will bear, so to speak. And what we find happening is a typical chiropractor will say, workers' comp and PI will pay me $100 a visit. A cash patient can typically afford about $50 a visit. So they'll set their fee somewhere in the middle. Well, what are you doing every time you see a patient? You potentially could be losing money because you could be paid that higher rate, if it in fact is insurance. And so our advice is, when you look at setting your fees, quite frankly, I mean, we never tell people what their fees should be. We can't share that information. They'll ask us, what's everybody else charging? That violates the Sherman Antitrust Act, guys. Sorry about that. Can't tell you that. But there are ways to help determine what fees, what's a maximum fee that's available in my area. And then my position is, why wouldn't you charge at least what the insurance company thinks you're worth, and get away from always dropping your fee through an illegal cash discount? Set your fee at the highest level you can, because now you have a mechanism to help those that aren't paying that amount or can't pay that amount. An exercise that we did probably 7 years into this, because I do have fee schedules and I can look at them regionally and state by state. We looked at the state of Texas, and something like 75% of the doctors were not even charging what workers' comp allowed for an E&M visit. Something like 60% weren't charging the allowable for x-ray. Texas has a published workers' comp fee schedule, so I was able to do a side-by-side. And I will tell you that doctors are leaving money on the table every single day because, number one, they're fearful of raising their prices. They don't value the services. And my encouragement to you is, go out and look. Go to fairhealth.org, key in a CPT code, and you'll see what the going rate is for an 8x10 x-ray. Is there any particular reason you should be paid less than a hospital or a doctor's office, a medical doctor's office, for an 8x10? Why are you charging less? Because you either don't value it or you don't think that the patient can afford it. Well, with the CHUSA model, you can actually have a capped fee for your first visit. The routine visit might have been, pick a number, $300, but you can say, hey, I can be profitable at 175, because you know what I find, Eric? You go into practices now and everybody's offering discounts. They're just not doing it the right way,
Yeah.
the most the most legal way. And so they know that their first visit may be $300 and they're charging 175 to these cash patients. But they're not doing it the proper way, which is what gets you in trouble when you are making what I'll call sometimes dumb doctor deals. Um, and so many of them don't know their numbers to the point where they know it costs me $27.17 to deliver an adjustment. Well, how do you know that? We've got a form you can fill out based on your fees, based on your number of office visits, and it'll tell you what your actual costs are to deliver the care to individual patients. So if it costs you $27 to deliver care and you get a contract from Aetna that's going to pay you $17, guess what? You're losing money because you're in the hole trying to accommodate a particular subset of your practice. So our position is make doggone sure that whatever your lowest fee is still profitable for you. Because it's kind of like buying oranges for a dime and selling them for a nickel. You're going to lose money. Well, the answer to solving that is not getting a bigger truck. The answer is charge the fair market value for what the oranges ought to be sold for. And so we need to encourage doctors to start looking through the lens of their profitability. If they are going to offer discounts, make sure that it is part of your profitable discount strategy, because it doesn't do any good to offer discounts. May help the patient, but it doesn't help your practice if you're not doing that the right way.
Yeah, so true. And, when you do that, our onboarding process was great. Your team is fantastic with that. So if any of you are concerned about how you get this implemented, it's an amazing onboarding process. And one thing that we learned is that our higher fee was lower than it could be. So we
Mm-hmm.
raised our higher fee, and
Yep.
our cash fee was lower than it needed to be. So our CHUSA fee. So when you raise the higher fee, the regular fee, from a comparison perspective, a contrast perspective, you can also raise your cash fee. It actually increases the perceived value of the service dramatically to the person on the other side. And then, so that was one thing that was great for us. The second thing that I wanted to say, which is really important, doctors that are just doing the crisis care, just the insurance part, we call it the crisis care part. You are leaving so much on the table by not having people stay with you for lifetime care. We have people that they're on year number 6 CHUSA, because we're in a new practice, fairly new practice. Year number 6 CHUSA, they have paid us cash somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000+ over the last 5 years. Their visits take no time at all. They love us. They bring us cookies at Christmas. They bring us tickets to events. And this is going to shock you, Ray. You ready? You ready for this? Are you sitting?
Yeah.
They say thank you and give us a hug.
Yeah.
And then the next year, they drop their CHUSA check, they drop their check for their care for their family, and they do it again year after year after year after year. And, if you're just doing the crisis part of it, you got to understand this. People love you and leave you. They love you and leave you. And they have a great experience. They feel better. They should love you and stay and never leave. And you should become their primary healthcare provider, period. You should be their go-to first. And that's what I love about the part of it that we do in relationship to what you do, because we have more and more and more and more, and our people that use 100-year lifestyle from an educational model, they literally come in asking for that. They know it's a part of our culture. They know they don't have to do it that way. They can just come whenever they feel like they need it, or they can just utilize chiropractic care the 100-year lifestyle way. And they do it year after year.
So two things I want to share with you. When I've often said you can't discount your way to success. particularly if you don't know your numbers and you're charging less than the cost of delivering service. But we have had practice after practice after practice tell us, I can't believe I put in a discount plan and I'm collecting 20% more a year. That doesn't sound logical. The reason they're collecting more is because of what you said a few minutes ago. When you set your fee at least what the insurance company thinks you're worth, think about that now. I want my fee to be more than what they think I'm worth, because over time, what we charge influences what reimbursements are to some extent. So, you know, just the simple fact of raising your fee to what's considered fair market value, what the companies are paying, and having a legal way to keep care affordable for those other patients. That's why doctors tend to see an increase in their revenue. And then the other piece of this, yeah, oh, and by the way, our stats show that about 50% of CHUSA patients that you see will re-up for the next year and the next year. So they do get it. They are coming back, but the care is affordable for them. So it really can be, while it's a discount medical plan, it actually can build and grow your practice because you because you are maximizing reimbursement and you're setting a fee that is still profitable for you. When you pull those two levers, life is good.
Life is good, and it should be good because it's an interesting time. When you and I graduated, getting a little nostalgic right now, 1985, right? We had not settled, our profession had not yet settled the Wilk case lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I graduated as quacks, according to the allopathic world, right? The medical industry, who was targeting us. We are now essential since the ridiculousness of 2020.
Yeah.
So we have lived through times where literally, there's a great article on 100yearlifestyle.com. It's from Flexner to Kennedy. Here's to the next 100 years. And it's was also published in Masters of Health magazine, just like the Everything Works Better with Chiropractic article. And it's really, it tells the whole story about how we got to this place where I don't know if that I ever really thought that we would be in this place where we would have people in charge of the most significant health and human services, for example, like Kennedy, being in charge of something like that, somebody that was supportive and believed in the things that you and I stand for in the lead. I feel like, I don't know if you feel this way, because 40 years in, you say, Plasker, aren't you going to slow down, man? Aren't you going to retire? Are you out of your mind? For me, I've worked my whole life for this moment in history. Our mission was always lifetime care for everyone. People lining up for chiropractic care the way they used to line up for shots and drugs. Since day one, that was our mission. And now here we are with the opportunity to make that happen with a message and a model, financial model, to really, truly reach the masses. Doesn't that kind of give you the willies a little bit?
It does, and I've been saying this for years. Every time I meet with students, there has never been a better time to be in chiropractic. Yeah, we've got some of our dysfunctions. I mean, every group does. I don't care if you're CPAs or architects, there's always some internal turmoil. But the reality is, we have never been better positioned, more accepted, more utilized, and I think that will tend to increase. And that's one of our goals, is to increase it. There's a conversation for another day, but the whole strategic plan that we're involved in, its primary goals are to get parity in reimbursement for the services we render and to increase utilization of chiropractic care in the U.S. That's a lofty goal, but I absolutely seeing it. We're seeing it happen. I want to backtrack for a second to the Wilk case. So when Wilk settled, like I said, we were early on in practiced a couple of years before it settled. When Wilk settled, I had an experience where I had requested records from a local MD and then from some X-rays from the hospital, and I mean, they just told us straight up, we don't share records with chiropractors. Well, that pissed me off.
I bet.
It just really chapped my butt. So here comes the Wilt case settlement, and every medical association, the rheumatologist, every medical society who has their own journals was required to publish in their journals that their association, the AMA, had attempted to contain and eliminate chiropractic, and they had violated the Sherman Antitrust Act. That was Judge Judy Gensen-Danner who handed that opinion down. I took that opportunity, and this sounds crazy, but I wrote an 11-page letter to the MDs. 500 of them I sent it to by a FedEx envelope. And I opened with, "You're probably wondering why a chiropractor is sending you 11-page letter. I want you to know who I am, what I do, what my training is, when to refer to a chiropractor and when to never refer to a chiropractor." And I included, "Oh, by the way, your national association just made the statement it is no longer considered unethical to associate with a chiropractor." And I sent that out to literally 500 MDs in the Jackson area. Next day, I get a call from a couple of, "I don't know who the hell you think you are, but don't you send me any more crap again." I say, "Okay, you're off the Christmas list." But Eric, I also got a call from River Oaks Hospital, chief of staff of orthopedics. I got a call from University Medical Center, chief of staff of neurosurgery. And they said, "I had no idea what your background and training was. I know I have patients that see chiropractors, but I don't really know one because I've never had a chiropractor contact me." And I think we are historically where we have been because we won't get out of our comfort zone
Yeah.
and take the emotional risk of stepping into, whether it's that world, workers' comp world, whatever it is. We just got to start showing up because people do business with people they know and people they trust, and they're not necessarily going to come knocking on your door. Most MDs are slammed. So because we can help their patients so much, and they are horrible at treating, neuromusculoskeletal cases, you need to position yourself as the go-to, because the MDs and the average family practitioner, they hate taking care of back pain because they can't really do anything for it. And the current path is, well, go to PT or go see an orthopedic surgeon or go see a neurosurgeon. When you talk about chiropractors being the primary care physician for these families, look at what the data says. And the data says you get a huge decrease in the number of opioids if your first contact is a chiropractor. You get a huge decrease in surgery, a decrease in MRIs, a decrease in imaging, cost savings out the wazoo, and patient satisfaction levels that no other profession can attain. And so you sometimes I don't think we realize what an opportunity we have to create those partnerships with other healthcare providers and become their go-to. I'm from the South. There's a lot of hunting that goes on down here. It's the next best thing to hunting over a baited field. you know, and for those of you that don't hunt, that means you go out and throw some corn, and when the deer come up, you're able to shoot them. That's hunting over a baited field. Well, you're hunting over a baited field when you develop these relationships with other professionals who are seeing patients they don't want to see, that they can't help. You become their resource. And I mean, we had it happen. I mean, we were seeing over 70, 80, 90 new patients a month for years. And it's because I had cultivated these one-on-one relationships with those folks. So I encourage docs, get a good structure in place financially, care plan wise. No, be clear and transparent about what you're recommending, why you're recommending it, what the fees are going to be, and when you get those things in place, then start reaching out to some of those other communities, because I'm telling you, it is the closest thing to creating an assembly line of new patients.
Yeah, it really is. We did that with our football team, our local high school football team. And there was a lot of politics, even today, trying to keep us out. And now they are all under care.
Yep.
All of them are under care. And, one thing as we start to wind down, I think this is an important thought. We're at a place in our industry, in my opinion, that for a century or more, decades, especially the last 4 or 5 decades, where we've had a person or people or board sitting on the 84th floor of some building somewhere that has never been to a chiropractor, defining the appropriate utilization of chiropractic care. This has always been a problem for me personally, because I have always wanted to, and the chiropractors that we attract, and like you, I speak to audiences all over the world. I ask this question: raise your hand if you're utilizing chiropractic care at least once a month, once a week. And most people are like between once a week. Nobody's more than once a month. And I say, okay, if it's good enough for you, it's good enough for them, at least as an option.
Mm-hmm.
And so why is this so important, especially for our people, CHUSA people, 100-year lifestyle people, and everybody else in the profession that might hear this? Bigger visions of how to utilize chiropractic care in a way that we know as the professional deliverers and the professional utilizers. We know the appropriate utilization of chiropractic care. And so bigger visions, don't be afraid of that bigger vision, giving that vision for people about how to utilize the care, and then giving them options on how to utilize it, more or less, depending on their lifestyle, their condition of their spine. So bigger visions include smaller ones. Smaller visions do not include bigger ones. For those of you that are just kind of like stair-stepping into telling people the truth about how to utilize the care and what you truly recommend for them, it's stressful because you are constantly trying to upsell them or get them back in the office because they felt better and they missed. So take a serious look at the combination here of the educational model of the 100-year lifestyle combined with CHUSA, because when you give them the big vision up front, we have people that say, well, I'm not going to do it that way, Dr. Plasker. No problem. We'll do it any way you want. I just wanted you to give it an idea. We'll help you however you want to. And then they'll come back sometimes if they disappear in 6 months, a year, 2 years. I should have listened to you. I should have listened to you. I should have listened to you. And I don't want people to say that, but I also don't want to not be able to look at somebody in a grocery store because they went and had surgery because I didn't tell them the truth and they didn't give it enough time.
Yeah. That's such an important point. When we're making recommendations to patients, like you said, there's so many different models out there. There are some models that teach go ahead and book a year's worth of care in advance, or and we're all over the board as a profession. What I found to be most effective in my office in making that transition, let me put a button on that for a second. We literally had a chiropractor in our town that if they didn't commit to monthly care from day one, he would not accept them as a patient. One of the best referral sources I ever had. Number one, because they didn't understand the big picture of why that was important. He didn't necessarily do a great job in educating people. But patients are not just patients, they're healthcare consumers. And when you make recommendations that maybe don't make sense to them right up front, unless they know the big picture, so to speak, they're not going to make the decision that's really in their best interest based on the information they have. And some people, they're just crash and burners. They want to come in when they crash and burn. Well, we don't like that. We know there's a better way. And so when we got to the point where someone had reached from the medical world maximum therapeutic improvement, yada, 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 whatever terms you want to use for that, we would have the conversation, Miss Jones, you're doing great. At this point, you've got an option. I can see you when you crash and burn. And quite frankly, that's the most expensive way to see me because you're going to have to come in a number of visits when you crash and burn. But we find that patients feel better, function better, have less flare-ups, and get over them quicker if they're under monthly care. Let Susie at the front desk know what you'd like to do. It's got to be their choice. I think there's been an element at some point in our profession that has actually chased patients away from chiropractic because they're so dogmatic about getting the patient what the doctor wants them to have and not giving the patient what they want. And while we want everybody to be under, monthly care, lifetime care, um, everybody's not there. So meet them where they are, take them where you want to go, over time, and don't make it feel like we're um, like they're a bad person because they choose the crash and burn. We got different personalities out there. You know, the deer hunters in my state, they may not come in all year long, but by God, a week before deer season, I am flooded with deer hunters because they know they got to climb up and down the damn deer stand. They got to load and unload their stuff. So people make decisions for different reasons, and we need to be accommodating even for those that don't get it yet, because like you mentioned, having that patient who's had multiple episodes crash and burn. I mean, my conversation with him was, John, I told you a while back, patients feel better, function better, don't have as many flare-ups if they come in periodically. I appreciate the business, but I see you a hell of a lot more times doing it your way, and it costs you more money.
And it's a roller coaster ride.
It,
We tell people all the time, we say the intensity of your lifestyle, when they get to what they call maintenance, we don't call it that. We call it in the 100-year lifestyle model, we call it lifestyle care. And we tell people the intensity of your lifestyle care depends on the intensity of your lifestyle, not me. If you want to meditate 5 times a day and you have no stress, you'll need a lot less lifestyle care. If you take up a marathon, you're going to need more care. And so it's really on you as more than it is on me. And then the other thing we tell them to go along with what you say, these are a couple little quick nuggets, is healthier going in, healthier coming out. We can't, something may happen to you someday, but the healthier you are going into that, the healthier you will be coming out. We can go on for hours and
yes.
hours and hours. Um, this has been great. It's so fantastic getting to know you and your team in the way that we have over the years. Thank you for your service to our practice and to our clients that we have referred to you. They've all been thrilled, ecstatic. We appreciate that so much. So why don't you leave us some closing thoughts?
Get your systems in order in your practice, including the financial side of it. Read the book Traction if your practice is in chaos. That is, it's called Traction, the Entrepreneurial Operating System by Gino Wickman. Game changer for your practice and for any other business you might be involved in. Charge at least what the insurance companies think you're worth, and make sure that your financial policies aren't putting you at risk by following that contractual discount model. If in fact you are charging insurance one fee, private pay another fee, that's called a dual fee schedule. But the moment they step inside of that DMPO, it's now a contractual network discount regulated by the state, and it is damn near bulletproof.
Beautiful. And my closing thought for you is, if it's good enough for you, it's good enough for them, at least as an option. Take a few minutes to check out the 100-year lifestyle educational model, the system. It's all put together. It is literally a traction model applied to your practice if you want to have lots and lots and lots of lifetime chiropractic patients, advocates, warriors that are coming to you on a regular basis, in addition to all those other people that are coming for crisis care. And so, Ray, I'll see you on the road somewhere. I'm sure I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for all
Right.
you do for all of us. We are grateful and we appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks so much, Eric. I really appreciate that. And we'll probably see you in Florida.
All right, very good.
Take care.